Being in the presence of someone who is engaging in trauma dumping can feel very complicated and be very painful. For one, when somebody trauma dumps, it pulls on a lot of our empathy and compassion strings. This person's clearly in pain, and their system saying, please see me and hear me in my pain. That being said, our own nervous system's wellness, engaging in self-care with intention is critical. I'm going to provide 4 tips, 2 internal and 2 external, for how we can support our mind and body system in successfully navigating through the experience of being exposed to trauma dumping. The first 2 are external. It is very supportive for us to give ourselves permission to have a voice and set boundaries. And this can be very hard, especially if we care about the person. If we're in the medical field and we've been trained that our job is to sit with and be in people's pain, or if we've experienced trauma in our past and been taught that standing up and having a voice to protect ourselves is not safe to do, or perhaps we're not even worthy of doing it. In those types of experiences, if you notice that your mind and your body system are starting to give you data, that the information coming at you is activating or disruptive, it is 100% okay and even mandatory for you to start creating a new pattern of being that takes care of you so you can be your best self in all areas of your life. And that is as simple as saying, hey, it sounds like this is really hard, and unfortunately I need to X, Y, Z. And give yourself an activity to go do in that moment. It can be literally as simple as going to the restroom, feigning a cough. I need to get some water, whatever it might be. You're creating space for you to step away and take care of you. If it's a loved one who's trauma dumping on you, in creating that space, you can step out and do your CPR for the amygdala, re-regulate yourself, and see if you feel comfortable returning to the conversation. And in the 2 internal resources, we'll talk more about how to do that safely and successfully. Another wonderful intervention is to, again, start with that same line. That sounds really hard or really painful. And I really hope you have or are looking for somebody to work with to help you move through this successfully. Unfortunately, I am not equipped to do that. You're setting a boundary by providing an awareness of the fact that this is hard stuff. It is not your job to do this for this individual. And that's an important thing to notice. It's not your job. Give yourself the space and the time and care that you deserve and are worthy of. And that takes us to our internal opportunities. So when somebody starts to trauma dump and we get pulled into it, there might be an energy of compassion and empathy that's welling inside of you. A sense of, I really want to take care of this person, or I don't want to leave and hurt their feelings. That caring, attentive energy that you're expressing towards that person, I'd like to invite you to imagine that you're actually turning that energy towards yourself. Take that back and see if you can gently breathe into it and expand it into a protective, safe, secure bubble of loving care and kindness that says, I am worthy of taking care of my mind and body right now. Because ultimately that person who's trauma dumping is trying to do some version of that. They're trying to fix some pattern that says, I need to be seen and heard in this moment. And that's real, and that's okay. And you are worthy of giving yourself that same loving care, time, and intention that you're feeling pulled to give to that other person, even though it's not something that you're ready to be in right now. From that space of that protective bubble, that loving, kind, caring energy towards self, you might actually feel that you can then set one of the 2 external tips. Do one of those boundary setting exercises. Another wonderful resource is to imagine that you have an inner ally sitting next to you. Somebody who does fiercely love and protect you, or somebody that represents courage or ferocity. Whoever that might be, imagine that person sitting next to you and puts their hand gently and lovingly on your shoulder and says, hey, right now, you are deserving and worth taking care of you. And the information this person's sharing is pretty big. And if the 2 of you stay in it, it might be disruptive for both of you, which is real. Trauma dumping can be re-traumatizing for the person who is doing the trauma dump. Therefore, having that permission to step back and step away is critical. So these internal resources can become an empowering opportunity to give rise to your voice to set those external boundaries. And yes, it is hard to disrupt a trauma dump. I'll be honest, when I knew I was going to be making this video, I went around and I polled all of my team members saying, what are your top tips? And everybody took a minute to really pause and think about, oh, how do we do that? Because it is hard. So you're not alone in that experience. And remember, trauma dumping can be traumatizing, not just for the person who's receiving the trauma dump, also for the person who is engaging in the behavior. Therefore, it is an act of loving kindness to not just you, but also them, to set a boundary and take care of your mind and your body in that moment. Choose you. You're worthy. You deserve it. And nothing better than letting our mind and our body system know that we're hearing them and we're taking care of them.